All right, guys, welcome back to Stuck on an Island, where I'm stuck with you and we are always smiling. So I haven't gotten any sleep, and if you look at the time now, it is now after 3 a.m. in the morning. But why am I so excited? Why am I so pumped? Why am I so amped? And that's because I'm going to be making one of my favorite drinks in the world, which is sorrel. Now, sorrel for me is quite possibly Jamaica's most famous drink. And I think in the world is one of the better drinks I've ever had. It is so popular that when I went to Mexico some time back, they had a drink that they called Jamaica juice, which is basically made with similar ingredients, which is the hibiscus flower, which I have here. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys exactly how I got this in the United States. But all in all, it is just a super popular drink. I remember when I was a kid growing up, don't quote me on it, but I do remember seeing sorrel coming around maybe late October and then finishing sometime in January. It was grown in a particular time of the year, but it is so good, so delicious that manufacturers have found ways to extend the life of sorrel. Now, I'm not sure exactly how they do that, but I assume it is just drying the sorrel out. So they probably just mass produce these and just dry it out, and they can just continuously make sorrel continuously throughout the year. Now, here's one thing. We are in the Christmas period, and Christmas is a time of tradition and sharing. And I found that I've met quite a few people who will tell you they do not know how to make sorrel. And quite frankly, sorrel is super easy to make. Now, I do understand we are living in a time of convenience now where you can just go to a store, which I have done in my life before, to buy a jug of sorrel, and quite frankly it doesn't taste quite bad. But if you want to get the true and real sorrel, it is best you make it yourself. Now, you might be wondering, what do you know about making sorrel? So years ago, I used to be my aunt's little helper when it came to this time of year. So she had a very popular salon where every single year around this time she would make like a big pot of sorrel, and then she would just jug it out, and then she would give it to her customers. It was like a Christmas treat. So she would give every customer a glass of sorrel, and one of the best Christmas cakes I know out there to each and every customer. And trust me, her sorrel is amazing. I think the only thing that I will miss from her sorrel's flavor is that I remember that we used to do it outdoors. So we'd get a very big pot, we would get an old rim, throw some coal into it, get that really hot, put the pot on, have everything bubbling, and then you know the smokiness from that coal is going to go into the sorrel, and it just gives it an additional dimension that I think you're not going to quite get while you're doing it on the stovetop. Now, what exactly is a drink and how does it taste? Now, sorrel by itself, the flower is, if you're going to make the juice, it's going to be a little bit tart, and the real original sorrel, like I would have it, it has to have the flavors of ginger. That is super important. And then also rum. One of the downfalls a lot of people make with their sorrel is they make it too weak. If your sorrel is looking too pink, if it doesn't have that dark, rich, blood red color, then I am sorry, it might not be one of the better sorrels. That is just me. Now, like I said, one of the key things to a very good sorrel is that it should be rich. My rule of thumb when I'm making a sorrel is I rather to have it really rich, a good amount of sweetness, a good amount of ginger in there. And for the rum, you don't want it to taste like it's a liquor. It's supposed to feel like a creeper. By your third glass, you should start feeling that little buzz. But the key thing for me is when I make a sorrel, it should be that rich to the point that if you don't like it that rich, you can decide to dilute it if you so choose and get it to your tasting. But it should never be that weak that you completely mess it up and there's no way to actually recover that. I'm going to actually show you one key trick that I learned that is going to give your sorrel a little bit more body and substance to it. All right, so let's now take a quick look at our ingredients. Now, one of the main things is, of course, ginger. If you're in the US, it's best to try to get yourself some Jamaican ginger, or any ginger that has this level of thickness. Not the very big ones, because they tend to not be as flavorful, not as spicy. You're just gonna definitely use more of them because they have more water content. So definitely ginger. Now, in terms of getting it to the right amount of sorrel, if you look at this, Like, this is a pound of sorrel. It costs about $10 from the West Indian store. If you see them, grab it up really quick because it goes very fast. If you look at this gallon of water here and you look at this, you'll realize that, look at the proportion. I want it to be very, very rich. Now, I had this for a while. I'm gonna be mixing this together with the dried one and the fresh one. Is there a flavor difference? I cannot quite tell you. I've done the dried one before and it works out just fine to me. So there's that. If you look at my counter right now, it's a bit red. Oh my God, did I stain it with the sorrel? No, bro. No, I didn't. You see what I'm telling you about sorrel? You want it to have that rich blood red kind of look. It doesn't have to be blood red, but you get the idea. You want it to be really, really rich. Now, everything I do doesn't really have much of a portion size, like a given recipe. Now, in terms of these spices here, allspice for me is definitely a must. It will kind of give it that, well, actually, I think the cloves will give it more of that smoky flavor, like I said, off the charcoal stove. But I like using both of these together. You can make your sorrel any which way you like. This does not go into the sorrel. I'm going to be using this for the cleaning of the sorrel. And of course, here I have a little bit of salt. If you know, salt actually magnifies the flavor of everything. You're not going to use a lot, just a little bit. And I tend to prefer using a whiter looking sugar because, like I said, the sorrel is going to be blood red. If you use brown sugar, it's going to make it look very dark and muddy. So yeah, it's going to be a personal preference for you, but I prefer this because it's going to keep it a nice clean red looking color. And of course, you just have to have some rum in there, bro. And if you're a Jamaican, there is only one way, and that is Ray. And of course, your bottles of water. I got these bottles of water because I'm going to be reusing them to actually store the sorrel. Now, this over here is, I've seen this on Kurt's cabinet for quite a while. It's never been used before. So I'm going to try to make just enough where I can put the sorrel in there, and I'm going to reseal it and see how it tastes next year, or they can tell me how it tastes if I'm not here. And that, my friends, are the basic ingredients. I have seen people use red label wine. You can probably use Stone's ginger wine because it is a wine and it has ginger in there. The preference is really yours. Do it whichever way you like. And if you don't like rum, don't put rum. And if you're a diabetic and you don't want any extra salt in your diet, then definitely don't put any salt in there at all. But it's just the way that I make it, and I'm sharing it with you. Now, the first step for me is definitely putting your water to boil, because that's probably going to be the hardest part of actually doing the sorrel. So by the time we get through every other step, the water is already piping hot. So let's throw some water in. Why do I have two pots? It's just in case I have too much that won't fit in there, because you know, if you're making too much, you don't want it to overflow or bubble over. So just in case, I've set aside an additional pot just in case I need it. But the looks of things, I think I should be just about fine. All right, so now we just add a little pinch of salt just to add flavor, and then we turn this baby on. This is the front, put it on high, and then we cover it up and get to cleaning the sorrel. Now, this part, I'm going to admit, is fairly new to me. I have never done this before. Usually when you wash the sorrel, as far as I'm concerned, you just wash it with plain old water and you'll be perfectly fine. But with the advent of social media, what I've noticed a lot of people have been doing whenever they're washing fruits and vegetables, they add a little bit of baking soda to the water. Now, I did a bit of research because it doesn't make sense just doing something just because you saw someone else do it. When I read the research, it said that the baking soda actually will kill somewhere between 60 to 90% of potential pesticides that might be still having residue on whatever it is that you're trying to clean. So I think that basically is a win-win. I don't know what pesticides they might have, sprayed on the flowers because of pests and insects and whatever the case is. So I'm gonna try this out, and yeah. All right, so I tossed the sorrel in. I thought I hit record, but like I said, it is 3 a.m. in the morning. Now you can see the difference between the dried one and the fresh sorrel. Now, the biggest difference that I noticed is definitely smell. This one just smells like a nice tea. This one doesn't have much of a smell, but what I want to do is a taste test. Now, this one is for all Jamaican kind. It almost tastes like an apple. It definitely does have that tartness to it. It's not bad. I'm gonna taste the dried one. I'm sure it's gonna taste horrible. It just really feels horrible. It tastes kind of like a tamarind, but a really, really dry tamarind. All right, all that's left to do now is just to strain it really quick. See, so far guys, it's really simple. You can make yourself your own little thing of sorrel. Now, I want you guys to take a quick look at the water. This is the water that came out of the sorrel. Look at that. It already is rich. It already is red. I tried my best not to agitate the sorrel too much because I never wanted to, squeeze out any of that. But yeah, definitely make sure you have to wash your food. Whenever you get any fruits, any vegetables, wash them, especially in this day and age where there is the use of pesticide. You might be thinking, oh, you're throwing away a lot of the red. It'll be perfectly fine. If it doesn't come out how I want it, I do have an extra bag of dried sorrel, so if I need to bring up the color, I can definitely do that. Now we're gonna get to washing our ginger. Now ginger I chose to wash last. We're gonna do this very same way we did the sorrel. Chose to wash it last because ginger is it's a root food. It grows under the earth, and it has a lot more dirt than sorrel would. Now, I would tell people if you're going to be storing your ginger, it's good when there's a little bit of dirt on it, because I think that's going to help with the preservation of it. So wash it whenever you do need it. So I'm just gonna do the same thing, drop it into this pot here, turn that on, and then we're just gonna add a little bit of this. Matter of fact, you don't even need to do that, bro. You don't need to do that, because I would really expect for pesticide to not be on the ginger, but there could be other things. The world is changing every single day. Like, people are actually putting coloring on foods to make it look brighter or just more presentable, especially with meat. Like, whenever you go to the meat market, sometimes the meat looks really red and very appetizing. Most of the time it's actually just food coloring. Anyway, this ginger, to be honest, it looks fairly clean on its own, but if you look there, definitely some dirt on that, so we're going to wash it thoroughly. Now, if you know how to make sorrel, or you have your own ideas on how to make it, feel free to drop it in the comments, and also let us know, who did you learn how to make sorrel from? Was it from your grandma? Was it from your mom? Or was it from, like me, my aunt? Or let me not leave out the males as well. You could probably have learned it from your uncle. All right, my ginger appears to be nice and clean now, so we are going to do something that is a little bit unorthodox for some. All right, here comes the unorthodox part. Most people that I see doing sorrel, they tend to beat the ginger. I'm almost certain that my aunt used to do it the very same way as well. However, what I learned when it comes down to food, whenever you chop up anything, whether it's garlic or onions or ginger, you're creating more surface area to come in contact with whatever you're trying to put the flavor into. Now, the amazing thing about ginger, or the convenient thing about ginger, is that you are going to strain ginger out at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter if you have ginger particles in your liquid. Now, for certain foods, for example, you're going to be doing, let's say, pork, and you're going to put some ginger in there, then blending it wouldn't particularly make the most sense, because you're going to have a lot of ginger particles inside of your pork, and it might just have too much ginger flavor. Remember what I said, if you blend it, it's going to have a lot more flavor dispersing into whatever it is that you're doing. Now, when you beat the ginger, you toss it into your pork. When you're done, it's easy to allocate that ginger and toss it away. We all know as Jamaicans, it is the worst thing ever when you bite into a big piece of ginger. So don't roast me if you see me using a blender. For me, it's just a lot more convenient, and I think there's a little bit of science to it. Now, being real with you guys, do I know how much ginger is a fair amount? Honestly, I do not. I just put like a nice handful in my hand, looked at how much sorrel I had, and I'm basically just winging it. Now, if I have too little of ginger, you can easily add ginger to it at the end. It's just best to have the ginger already done in there, because you're gonna get a better steep and you're gonna get a better extract from that ginger. I forgot the water. All right, this seems about right. Now let's go check on our pot. Yup, bubbling over. It's about time. Now you see how timing is everything. Wow, man. How much of these do you actually put in there? It's not like you're gonna bite into them anyway, so I probably put like a nice amount like this. This for me here, probably like 12, I'll add a little bit more. Because you're gonna strain this out either way. So add some of those, and then I'm not gonna use as much of cloves, probably about a nice pinch. Probably I can add a little bit more. Some people go as far as to add things like cinnamon and so on. I'm not gonna add that into mine. For me, the pimento, it's quite enough. And also what we tend to do most times as well is to add pimento into the bottle or the container that the sorrel is in. So it just always has that nice spice of the pimento in it. And of course, last but never least, we're just going to add our sorrel. Now, how long do you keep it on the boil? Honestly, I don't quite remember how my aunt used to do it, but you never keep it on the boil for like a very long time. Just enough to soften it up so that all the fluids can come out of it. And then for the rest of it, you basically leave it to steep. Because if you look, like I showed you guys before, look at my hand. My hand is red already, and this is just a sorrel just sitting in a little bit of water there. So it doesn't need much heat to actually get all of that flavor out of it. So I'm just gonna keep it on the boil maybe for 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes or so. I'll just play it by ear, and then we can leave it to steep. Jeez, yo, this smell for me is just Christmas, bro. Like the moment I smell this, it's just game over. So here's a quick thought. Whenever you're doing food for people, especially quite a few people, it's good to kind of have a consensus and understand what people like, because I might like something a particular way and the vast majority doesn't. And when I cook food or make anything whatsoever, I want as many people to enjoy it as I can. Now, what I learned is some of the people that are going to be coming to the Christmas dinner do not take it with rum. So fortunately enough, I got some extra sorrel for Tanya, where she's going to do her own little version of sorrel where it, I think, will not have any rum in there whatsoever. So that's the good thing about this sorrel here. And like I said, I like to do it in a particular way where if you want to dilute it and tone it down a little bit, you can, because it's harder to catch it up than it is to actually tone it down. So there's that. So I probably should not be telling you guys this. I probably could get in trouble with this. Now, you remember when I said in the start of the video that you make your sorrel rich. You make it in a way that if someone wants to tone it down a bit, they can tone it down a bit. The reason why I know this is, like I said, my aunt used to make a lot of sorrel for her customers, right? And there would just be gallons and gallons of sorrel. So at the beginning of the season, we would have so much sorrel to drink. We'll just drink sorrel nonstop. Now, when it started to get to the end of the year, when the sorrel will start running out, we probably would have 3 or 2 gallons of sorrel left. So then I remember my aunt would be like, you guys need to take time with the sorrel. Now, during the holidays, it wouldn't just be me, it would be all of my cousins. So there'd probably be like 5 or so kids plus adults that would be there. And what I used to do, I used to sneak some of the sorrel. So I would throw some out of the gallon jug, and then I would mark the line where it was. And this was sorrel for the house. And I would just fill it back up with water. And no one knew the what, Michelle? Don't tell Auntie Waldo. Do not, matter of fact, tell Auntie Waldo. Ona can't beat me. Ona can't beat me now. Matter of fact, my aunt never did anything like that before, but you guys get the point. So when I was a kid, I noticed that my aunt would just make her sorrel so rich that even if you put water in it, like, you just would not notice it because it was just quality. And for me, that's the standard of sorrel that I will always turn to. Michelle, again, if you watch this video, cause don't tell Auntie. Anyhow, let's go look at how the sorrel is turning out. Oh my God, look at that. It is just a nice, rich red. Now, the time that I mentioned before is going to vary based on the amount of sorrel that you put. I did mention I was going to put it for like 15, 20 minutes or so. For me, I'm probably going to be edging more towards the 30-minute mark, because remember, the fresh sorrel, you're going to know that it's basically done when it starts looking very, very pale. Now for the dried sorrel, because it's dried, it's a little bit harder for the color or the nutrients and the flavor to be extracted. So you do have to judge and account for that. Now, what some people do is at the end of the straining process, they would put a little bit of water back so they can get extra sorrel. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep my sorrel as rich as I possibly can. Now, what's going to finish off the entire process for this is the steeping process, where I would suggest leaving the sorrel just in that water for probably like 8 hours. You know, go to sleep, wake up the next day, and then you can finish it off by adding your rum and such. All right, so now we're at the part of the sorrel making where some people would just leave it for the next couple hours to steep and infuse, and then they would add sugar and rum to taste. Now, this is what we do a little bit different. I don't know if you do it, but this is my advice. Now, I mentioned that we used to make a lot of sorrel, and with a lot of sorrel making comes a lot of sugar, and with a lot of sugar comes a lot of stirring, and no one had the time for that. So what we do, not when the sorrel is piping hot, just when it's hot, we would add the sugar to it. Now, when liquids are hot, you're not gonna get the exact or accurate amount of sugar, but you just want to get it sweet enough. The reason why we're going to add the sugar at this point, in which we noticed actually made the sorrel better, is that it kind of, I don't know if this is a scientific thing or I don't know what it is. It actually makes the sorrel a little bit more syrupy. So it's no longer just very flat, and it has this nice smooth body to it because of the sugar being added when it's very warm. And if you don't believe me, at least one thing will be there for you, which is it's going to be a lot easier for you to mix. All right, so I'm going to add her sugar here, and I'm just going to be winging it. I don't know how much sugar or use a particular recipe. It's just really by taste. If you want to add brown sugar as well, you can add brown sugar. Again, doing this thing is really based off you and your own taste buds. So there we go, we're adding the sugar. And let me stop right quick. I did mention how much I love sorrel, right? I've done sweeten it. I just cannot wait till tomorrow to taste it with the rum in there. So I'm just gonna add the rum from now. It is what it is. So I'm gonna add some rum, and then tomorrow when it's cool, I can adjust it. Now we're just gonna put enough rum. I don't want it to be like alcoholic or anything. I just want the rum flavor in there. But again, make it to your own liking. I'm gonna taste it and see if I need more rum or not. I think I'm gonna need more rum. I'm just trying to cool it down a little bit. Okay, you can't really taste the flavor when it's hot. Oh God. Jesus. Oh my God. I don't know what it is about the rum, but the rum just brings up the flavor completely. Guys, the sorrel tastes so good. So pleased with it. It's almost 7 o'clock right now. I was actually up seasoning up some oxtail as well, because I'm gonna be doing that for Christmas dinner, and I'm gonna be doing sweet potato pudding. So I'm gonna do a video on that and show you guys all that, and you know, the Christmas dinner day and all that stuff. So what I'm gonna do is today in the afternoon, after it's done steeping, I'm gonna strain it out and I'm gonna taste it again, see if it needs anything. Right now, I don't really think it needs much or any adjustment at all. I can't wait to wake up tomorrow in the afternoon and just smell the kitchen, just that sorrel smell, the ginger, the rum. I just love smelling that when the holidays hit. Those who know, you know. So I'm gonna catch you guys in the afternoon. We're gonna do that and wrap up today's video. Got a little bit of that leftover. Man, tastes like the freaking holidays. I'm super pleased with how it turned out. You know, using the fresh and the dried sorrel and everything like that. It's amazing that you can still get some Jamaican products out here. But I'm tired. It's like almost 6 a.m. in the morning. Got done with the sorrel now. That is completed. Bottled everything out. Let me show you this too. So this has been on Kurt's liquor area for a minute, never been used. So I'm like, you know what, let me make a use of it. So what I basically did, I probably put like maybe a tablespoon and a half extra sugar, a little bit more extra rum. Then I threw the sorrel on top of that, you know, shaked it up a bit. Then I put in like 2 pimento berries as well as probably like 6 rice grains. I believe that helps with the fermentation. Close it down. I'm gonna label it, and hopefully if I come back here next Christmas, I'll definitely gonna try it and tell you guys what I think. My mom usually does something like that, and it always tastes really, really good. So that's that. These are now done. I'm gonna put them in the fridge right now and get them really ice cold. And yeah, I actually have a sweet potato pudding in the oven right now. So what I will do is I'll do another video showing you guys that with the oxtail, and then we'll see all the food that we did for the Christmas. And I won't go around and ask anybody what they think about the food or the drink. I'll just see how much they consume, and if anybody comes back and tell me something nice or not so nice, I'll share that with you guys. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video. I hope you guys learned how to make sorrel if you didn't know. Super simple, super easy. Remember these 3 things: love, nature, and adaptation. And always remember to keep your link. So of course, I think the sorrel was a pretty good one, but my best review was from an American, someone who never tried sorrel before, and I was so happy that he kept asking about the sorrel and kept wanting more. So that was proof enough for me in the pudding. And one review I never intended to really record, is recording something else, and then this guy just spoke about it, and I was happy with what he said. Really rich down. Yeah, it is.